Dan has been working on an issue most of the day and now well into the evening. He and his wife have dinner plans with friends, a makeup dinner from the last time he had to cancel because of a work-related issue. It appears that they are going to have to cancel those dinner plans again.
It looks like the client made some changes to their portal that broke our ability to access and post data to their system.
You know how important this connection is, Dan. We got a big job going out first thing tomorrow morning. We can't afford downtime.
Yes, I know.
So, yet again, Dan has had to cancel plans with friends because of another fire that needed to be put out at work. It will mean another late night for him.
You know, after 30-some years in the software development industry, I'd love to say that this is a rare situation, but in reality, it's pretty much a constant. Sacrificing time with family and friends because there is another fire that needs to be put out. And this was one of the things that I was happily willing to give up. But this wasn't the only thing. For years, I struggled with asking for time off because it sort of felt like the wrong thing to do. I don't know if that was because of upbringing, because of the fear of being told no, or simply that I didn't deserve the time off. Wait, no, I actually do know why I felt guilty for asking for time off. I had a couple of leads and managers over the years that made snarky comments about me asking to take time off. Oh, glad you have time to go have fun, or wish I could take some time off too. Sure, they were generally joking, but at the same time, there is this implied level of guilt applied for simply asking. Now, sadly, once I was on vacation, I would feel guilty for actually being on vacation because I know that I'm leaving all of the things I was dealing with on a daily basis for my team to deal with. Keep in mind, it wasn't that I didn't have full confidence in my team. I totally did. But if anything major happened, I wouldn't be there to share the load or to be the wall between them and the clueless managers and supervisors making demands on them they have no right to make. Of course, there is another aspect of taking time off, which actually was pushing me to go places further and further away, which was the fact that I had managers and such, supervisors, other managers and whatnot, that would actually call me while I was on vacation and would ask me to deal with whatever issue might be going on, or to talk to so-and-so and help them work through some challenge they might have. The only way that I could escape this was to simply travel further away to locations where I didn't have connectivity, that I didn't have access to a computer, and all of those things, so that when I was actually on vacation, I could enjoy that vacation time. All right, so my guess is that at this point, you are picking up on the threads that I'm laying down of the thing that I gave up. Let me share with you a couple more, and then I will share with you what I ultimately did to ensure that I was never plagued by any of them again. The easy ones were deadlines and pointless meetings. Well, actually, for the most part, meetings in general. The first being set by people that really had no clue what it really took or takes to get the ball into the end zone, because they never played the game. They just spent their time quarterbacking from a comfy chair. And the second, and at times the reason for deadlines getting pushed out, were the pointless meetings. So much time was wasted talking often about nothing, or about how much time was being wasted on other things. Honestly, being a developer in the late 80s and throughout the 90s was so much easier. We just did what needed to get done. We didn't spend hours talking about it. We didn't have daily stand-ups. We didn't have all these things. It was like, here's the objective, and we went and delivered the objective. If there were changes that needed to be made along the way, we made the changes. But stuff got done. And it got done well. Another thing that I tossed to the curb was all the stress that came with the job. Knowing that any given moment I could get called to put out another fire or work another 90 to 120 hour work week Over the years, I would work on several projects that had me working 20 to 22 hours a day for several weeks, with some possible downtime on the weekends. Just not good. The other big stress factor that I was more than happy to give up was never knowing if when I came in tomorrow, that would be my last day on the job. I can't tell you how many times that I worked for companies that either went under or they went through a downsizing process, and I would be part of a riff. It gives you the mentality when you work any new job that every day could be your last day and that you'll have to be out looking for a new one. And it sucks because there's been time periods where I was part of a rift or a company did whatever, and then I would spend a couple months looking for another job. And at one point, I actually spent nearly a year looking for a new job. People just weren't hiring in that time period. It just makes every day stressful. And what's worse is I don't think I ever worked for a company that there wasn't some sort of rift that happened. I may not always be in the rift, but I mean, even with my last job that I worked on, before I left, there was a series of rifts going on. I knew my position was safe, at least in that series of rifts, but that doesn't mean that my position would have stayed untouched, if that makes sense, for future rifts. Perhaps the biggest thing, though, and one that I don't talk about very often, is trying to force my sleep pattern into a box that fits within the corporate world. Since I was like 2 or 3, I was faced with the challenge of not being able to sleep. Sometimes because my brain wouldn't shut down, sometimes just because I couldn't sleep. But for years, like 40 plus years, I forced that challenge into a box that aligned with the expectations of the world. Initially, it was school, and it was work. I mean, for decades, I accepted the silent torture, well, actually it wasn't very silent, of the ever looming alarm. I know what you're thinking, well, you could just do this or that, and that will fix it. But no, this or that never fixed it. What fixed it was destroying the box and finding a path that aligned with my sleep challenges. Which ultimately brings us to the major thing that addressed all of these issues that I gave up on my 50s. Well, actually at age 55. And that was my 3+ decade long career. It was time for a change. One that wouldn't keep me from spending time with family and friends, requiring me to ask for time off and then regret taking that time off, dealing with deadlines or the endless barrage of meetings, the constant concern of being laid off, the stress that came with everything, and forcing myself into a box because that is what was required. However, I didn't retire. Well, but I did. Well, okay, so to be honest, the best way to describe it is I soft retired. I gave up all the stuff I didn't need in my life and replaced it with the stuff I did. Not only was it replaced, it was added to with finding a vast community of enthusiastic content creators excited to share their stories and listen to mine, and a church family that warmly accepts me for all my flaws and helps me to be a better person. So this is my story of all the things that I gave up as I've grown older and wiser. My question to you is, what have you given up, and what is your story?